I don't remember. Was it after he was retired? Trying to remember, like, when was he started called?
I just feel like it was always there.
Did he?
He wasn't. But,
make himself? Was he like, I want to be Mr. Devil from now on?
Would you say no to him?
From now
yes,
on?
sir.
No,
you may be Mr. Devil.
I'd say, well, all right, you're Mr. Devil.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's possible that maybe Chico Rush gave him that. I could almost see that's something he would do.
I agree with you. I could totally see Chico doing that.
Yeah,
and then maybe the last couple years.
So let's move on this story a little bit. How do you think it went down, Dan? How do you think it was the first time that Chico thrust that name upon him?
He was probably doing like, an in-game like interview following up, and maybe in his last season, I'm thinking, or something like that. I could just imagine him saying, Kenny, you're like Mr. Devil, and just
it just stuck.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like molasses.
Yeah, very much so. I bet you it was Chico. He's good for names like that.
Hey, Mr. Devil, if you're listening, let us know why and who gave you that nickname, because we don't know. And if anybody else is actually listening that knows the real story, please let us know. We're the Uncle Puckers. Bob, Dan. I'm Chris. What's up, boys?
What's going on?
How you doing, man?
Can we just call Bobby Mr. Uncle Pucker?
Mr. Uncle Pucker.
I like great. That. Mr. Uncle Pucker.
Definitely.
So what'd you guys
think? Now we're all related,
What'd you guys think of that game on Sunday? That 5 p.m. start?
A lot of firepower on this team. Pretty amazing goals by Bratt. That was something else.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Bratt later, but right now I guess we'll just go over a quick little box score. Let the people know how this whole thing went down. I'll start by saying to start celebrating, guys. Sound the horns, because the Devils scored first in the game. It took 7 or 8. It took to game 8, but they finally have somehow, some way mustered the intestinal fortitude to finally net the first goal. And that's big because they ended up winning the game. So let's get to the nitty gritty.
It's great.
That first goal.
Being in the lead. Yeah.
That first goal was at the 6:13 mark. That was Jesper Bratt's 5th of the year from Marino and Ball, which I actually missed the first period. So if anything was special about those goals, I thought I was recording it when I got home. I put it on right at the overturn of Bratt's second goal.
Okay, yeah.
Would-be second goal. So was there anything special about that?
It's just a beautiful shot. I'm trying to remember the setup.
That was from Marino and Ball.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a pretty goal.
And at the 14:53 mark, former Devil, Mr. Pat Maroon, he got his first of the goal from Brodin and Faber, and that ended the first period tied at 1.
Right.
Second period, the Minnesota Wild jumped up to a 2-1 lead at the 2:31 mark with the goal from Ryan Hartman, his 6th of the year, on the power play from Addison and Eriksson Ek. And then Devils kind of took over there at 6:10 to Foley, who's just been red hot, his 7th of the season on the power play from Bratt and Luke Hughes. And 44 seconds after, at 6:54, Eric Haula stays super hot with his 5th of the year. That was unassisted. That was a beautiful slap shot from right inside the offensive zone. I mean, poor Fleury had no chance.
Yeah, well, he's chasing on that puck, and it was all knuckle pucked.
Yeah.
And he did really lean into it, and it was one of those shots that I think there's no way that traveled straight. That was kind of like an up-down flutter.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it kind of was like up, over, looked like probably to the goalie at that second that was going to go high and wide, but it's knuckleballed back down.
Yeah,
it was a great shot.
Fleury pretty much didn't have any chance at that.
Yeah, and Toffoli's goal, what a beautiful setup by Bratt. Bratt basically just used Toffoli's stick to put it in. I mean, it was really good chemistry there. Hughes to Bratt before that is the first assist.
Is this
second assist? It was great.
Is this power play a thing of beauty or what?
Wow.
I mean, we talked about it in the summertime about the potential of what this power play could be, and it's really kind of coming in.
I know. I feel like the team as a whole is not coming into focus yet. There's still some places, but if this is like the first thing to fully come into focus as reaching potential, makes you think wow, if you can just do the same in these other areas, it's it's a monster team. Yeah.
Yeah, the power play has just been amazing.
The defenders, they don't even know like where to stand. They're just zipping around so fast and crisp. They're just confused. You know, it's definitely a thing of beauty.
And it's looked great all season, but this game, I think it really just looked beautiful. I mean, the 2 goals that were scored on the power play were just
you can feel the confidence,
gorgeous.
Right?
Yes.
Especially not just in comparison to years where it wasn't good, but even go back to some of the years where we had a great power play. You didn't ever feel this confident about it. Maybe that's because we're rolling around at 40% clip right now, but it really does feel good when they get that puck.
Well, we don't like to lie to our listeners, Bob. It's actually 42.4%.
Oh, damn it.
That's what which is just ridiculous. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So Holtz goal puts the Devils up 3-1. And then at the 16:39 mark, Jesper Bratt with his 2nd of the game, 6th of the year from Timo Meier and Luke Hughes, and that puts the Devils up 4-2 after 2, rolling to the 3rd period. Wild get another one. It was Jacob Middleston from Maroon and Foligno. That got the Wild within 1 goal, and I do kind of want to talk a little bit about that last 10 minutes of the game, really, because I thought the Devils did a really nice job with playing that team defense and not giving Minnesota too much near the end, even when they had the man pulled and they ended up getting in between. Well, they were within 1, and man, Vitek played great.
He did. I mean, he was very good in the beginning of the game too. The Devils scored first, but you know they might not have. He looked really good, especially. They might have scored first anyway because he had a couple saves to keep that lead for a while in the first period, second period. He was great.
The game was kind of everything I expected. If you look back at the fact I even said I thought it was going to be tied, we were 1 shot and a few seconds away from that almost becoming a reality. Yeah. But they definitely, that was the type of Devils Minnesota game I thought we were going to see. And I did think that, I liked that Vitek was in there again and getting a little bit of that consistency for now. Now we'll see what happens with the upcoming games. Holding off a real big push by them in the 3rd period, and they just couldn't get that empty netter, no matter what they tried. And I hate that when you're watching those games because you see that so often where they don't get it. And then of all things, a power play to end it really made it nervous. But they stuck together. They pulled it out. So good, hard win.
Yeah, it improves the Devils to their 2nd win in a row, improves their record to 5-2-1 on the season. We talked about Vitek. He let 3 in on 34 shots, 31 saves. Marc-Andre Fleury with the loss made 26 saves on 30 shots. I thought Fleury, when he was super tested, we scored on him. He made a couple of nice saves, but,
some of those goals, no one was going to stop them. Some of those prettier goals, they were beautiful.
Especially the power play ones, 40, like we said, 42.4%, which is, first in the league, but it's ridiculous. I mean, and the thing is, like, this is the time where you start, you start coming down to earth a little bit. The Devils aren't coming down to earth with the power play.
And even though, Hiescher's been out the last couple games and out for foreseeable future, it's clicking that well with him at 2 points on the year.
So you're saying we should trade Hiescher?
We got to get rid of him.
I think so. I mean, think about the capital.
Speaking a little bit of predictions, I think one of mine came true. We're not going to have Hiescher for the road trip. Is that right?
That's what I heard today.
Yeah.
So he's definitely out for the next 2 games.
I believe so. They said in the 4-game trip he's not traveling with the team. I think that's what I read. Yeah.
That's not good.
It is not good. That was, pretty. I hope he comes back 100%. He has a chance to reset, but he's going to be out a few games.
Which is bullshit. No, go ahead, Bob.
I was just say he'll be out a while. He'll be fine when he gets back. And of course, I was joking about him. The whole point of it being the power of that power play when we have a Nico Hischier that does what he's capable of doing too. Sure. Yeah. It certainly isn't going to make it worse. So sky's the limit.
Well, I think that the NHL needs to change their disciplinary actions. Okay, so if a guy like Connor Clifton goes high on a guy like Nico Hischier and hurts him, your suspension shouldn't be 2 games and then Nico's out for 10. Whatever the injury is should be the fucking suspension. So if you knock a guy out for a bullshit Bush League hit and he's out for fucking 12 games, then your dude should sit for fucking 12.
Or better yet, your suspension doesn't even start on the clock till you sit out as many games as him. So if it goes back at game 10, then you get your 2 or 3 games or whatever it is.
I mean, I like that until it's Timo Meyer that has to sit because he hit somebody up.
Right.
High.
Like,
But
here's the
like
problem. Once in a while, I've seen people suspended for things that were, I think it was kind of wrong that they even picked up as a suspension. And let's face it, it always matters sometimes who you hit and what team you're on. And, so I think most suspensions are warranted, no doubt. But I'm going to use the same kind of argument I do about the death penalty. What about the one you get wrong? Now what are you doing? This guy can't play. And especially if this guy gets, tipped into a surgery situation, he's not going to play for the rest of the season.
Okay, but
the NHL can really put a guy out for the whole season.
I think they have to. I think that if you look at the tape and you see that this dude took a run, he had his elbow up, that this was intentional. And I'm not saying that Connor Clifton's hit was that. I mean, it was Connor Clifton's not a dirty player, as far as I know.
A little bit more reactionary than, I don't know. It's one of those things that. No, it was definitely not like I'm going to line this guy up and hit him high. But as you're throwing a hit, these players are professional players, and it's all. There's only so much you can believe that their bodies can get away from them. They know, like, okay, if I'm missing here, I'm gonna. And honestly, it kind of leads me to that whole situation that resulted in that unfortunate death for Adam Johnson. I don't know. You guys have seen this. We all heard about this. And,
did you see? I didn't. I mean, I don't know anything about the play.
I watched it several times today. I wasn't really gonna watch it. It just seemed like it was one of those things that's like, oh, it's too bad. But there was, of course, a lot of controversy about it. So it made me like, okay, well, what is the issue? I want to see this hit.
Explain to the audience exactly what happened before you explain the play.
Okay, so Adam Johnson and another attacker on the way in the zone, and I don't know the teams.
And this is for a European League team,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And
okay.
I don't know who's playing for who. I really literally saw the clip in question. And but anyway, he's on the offense coming in the zone. He's not the primary person involved at first. So the man eventually was responsible for what happened, was actually trying to hit a person on his team, on Adam Johnson's team, that was ahead of the play, carrying the puck in. Gotcha. He threw like a hit where he kind of glanced off, and he was at one of those hits where the guy throwing the hit is going to get upended. So he began to be upended. Now this is really slowed down to what happened, but his feet go up in the air, and Adam Johnson is the trailer right there, and you see the contacts made. It's a very grainy thing, and luckily not gory. It's
the
very
skate blade to the neck.
Yeah, but see, the whole question is, did this player Pettinger kick at him? Did he do this? And it's one of those interesting plays that, like, you can watch it a lot of times, and I think as a fan you can come to different conclusions based on what you believe is maybe in the mind of a player. But I think a lot of players would go, wait a second, I kind of recognize what happened here. I don't know if other players have felt this way, but if you ever played anything where you are like in a one-on-one situation and you're getting beat, right? And you're getting beat and you've made your attempt at, stopping your opponent. You could take this into basketball or anything else, other sports too, but the guy's getting around you. So you have limited options. This all happened real fast. So that's how the genesis of most of these dirty hits are. They're not really lining up for like, wait till you see what I do with this guy.
Right.
The slew foot is a great thing. Like he slew footed him. And a lot of times the slew foots, if you look at it, one guy is beating the other.
Yep.
And he's like, not having it. My last ditch effort, I'm going to throw my leg out there to stop him. It's almost like an unconscious thing. But on the other hand, these are professional players. They know what they're doing, and they've seen lots of injuries through hockey. Some of them had them themselves. So there is kind of like, wait a second. You throw a slew foot out of desperation, I'm sorry, that's Bush League. That's bad behavior that we can't tolerate as a league because you're going to end somebody's career that way. You're responsible for the slew foot, even though on some level it's kind of reactionary and you being the best competitor you can be, not just letting the guy beat you easily, right? So you're kind of responsible for that. And I think this is one of those situations too, because this guy, I think when he got hit, when he hit, he bounces off, he gets upended. But it looks like a purposeful throwing his leg up as if to stop the guy he knew. Like, he knew the guy was there and he's putting his leg up.
Right.
It's what I would call reckless. So reckless that you think about, can you have somebody this reckless in the game? Because skates up high can do the worst. And it's exactly what unfortunately happened here. So he's totally responsible in my mind. It wasn't like, hey, I just took a weird bounce, my skates ended up in the air. That's happened all the time, right? We've seen guys do somersaults. Sure. You know, there's lots of ways you can get cut by a skate where it is not the other player's fault. It's a danger, and I'm glad they're looking into the throat guards, you know, as a possibility of preventing something like this in the future. I don't know if it's going to happen, but you know, the point is, it does happen totally legally all the time. But I can't look at this and say, hey, this is just at minimum super reckless on this dude's part, and in some ways so like dirty it's like not even on the scale. But you know, could he have totally accidentally done it? Couldn't say that 1000%, but I don't think so.
I mean, I'm sure that there's tons of investigations going on account that this resulted in a death on the ice because of this reckless behavior. Now,
it does factor into something like that. This guy's got he leads the league in penalty minutes. That doesn't mean anything. There's always somebody who leads the league in penalty minutes. I'm not saying he's necessarily, you know, but I think on this one play, I think it's going to haunt him the rest of his life. He's going to know what he did on some level. Like, fuck, instead of just taking the L and he's beating me, I shouldn't have put my leg that high. Some level I knew that. Why did I do that? He's going to, I mean, I think a normal human being is going to be haunted by that.
Now that's something, exactly, he has to live with.
Yeah.
Do you think the Connor Clifton hit on Hischier was dirty?
I think that was much less obviously dirty in a way that there's a way to look at that and go, look, dude, Hischier is number one lower. His head was below the dasher.
Yep.
So you could say you hit a man high. His head was literally about waist height. You know, so it was one of those, but he could have pulled up on this at any minute. The puck was in and out. And I don't like watching those in slow-mo only. You do have to see them regular speed a few times because let's face it, we slow it down. Almost every hit looks like a goddamn late hit.
Right.
You know, there's the puck is not technically on the dude's stick. And no, dude, it looked like he had it in that instant, but slowed down. It's going to change things up. So, but I think in this case, even at regular speed, it did look late. It did look like he leaned the shoulder in, like I don't want to not get a piece of him. So that qualifies as, look, if you're leaning in to that area, you kind of do know where his head is, even though it's especially low. You know,
if anything, you back off because his head is low. You know, you slow it down because you know this guy's in a vulnerable position. I don't want to hurt anybody, or at least that should be your mentality.
You know why, too? It's almost like he's already out of the play. Hischier's was like, you know, his legs were out from under him. He was going down in the play. He's going to be out on the play. He might, like, you know, survive to scrum around there. But you burying him there, I get, look, people want to finish checks. You want to play rough. This is a contact sport. But if you lean in, shoulder to head, you know, when you got somebody like that, especially along the boards, I think the league has to protect players in that area because it will be like career-ending injuries if we run that play long enough and just say, hey, let the boys hit. You're going to have a lot of guys out of careers, you know, and that's a short trip to boarding and paralyzations and all kinds of injuries the NHL does not want.
Any thoughts on that, Bobby?
No, I hadn't even known how the incident happened, and I was running.
No, I didn't either. I didn't want to watch it.
I had no idea it happened.
You can't find clips that are definitely not gory if you're curious just to see, because you know, I definitely didn't want to see anybody bleed out on the ice, and they don't show in the clip that I saw, thankfully, any of what must have been a lot of blood afterwards.
Oh my goodness!
But, so it was, you know, quote unquote clean, although it's creepy as hell. You can't get around watching a man take a fatal injury. It's not easy to watch.
No, I knew it had happened, of course, you know, and they were talking about it, and I knew the clip was out there. In my head, though, like, you know, you kind of think, like, how did this happen? I thought it was probably, like, just some goal-mouthed scrum, and a couple guys went down, and he went down on the skate. And I had no idea that it was any kind of, I don't want to say nefarious, but like you said, maybe reckless, you know.
Controversial play. Did he mean to? Did he not? And so I was like, they're probably making something out of it. And I'm sure a lot of people
fucking
are.
Terrible, man. And Adam Johnson, he did spend some time in the NHL. He played with the Penguins for a little while, you know, but it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, that's just fucking terrible.
Yeah, I did read a quick little interview, that I barely wanted to just shoot myself reading it because it was like in a Washington, not Washington, a New York Post article, which that's a horrible rag in general.
Sure,
but
is.
they were interviewing one of the worst people in hockey, Sean Avery, on this topic. I guess it was kind of funny they pulled him. Like, who do we know at the New York Post that's a dirty player? Because this is a story about a dirty player, so I want to get a dirty player, and they pulled him out of woodwork. So they had a little interview with him.
Dickbag have to say,
yeah, and I think it might have even been like an article written about a Fox News interview, so you can really throw up 3 times. But it was kind of neat reading it. You're just like, well, I could see why Avery would totally say that, and I don't even think he's wrong. But he kind of said, that he thought he's responsible for it, which I think is fair. But like, he didn't wake up that day to try to kill him because these people who don't know the sport are like, this is murder. They're like, he meant to do. And I ran into somebody today that I know who I know is not a hockey fan, and they brought this whole thing up to me. In fact, that's how I started looking into it. I kind of just heard the news like you guys, and I was like, that's so sad, and moved on. But she's telling me, yeah, they're gonna charge this guy because he did a spinning roundhouse kick and killed that guy. I said, what? Excuse me? Like, she's, like Jackie Chan was on the ice skates. What happened?
What's that move called? The Flying Lotus in Blades of Glory, where the guy keeps on getting his head cut off? Is that what she was explaining to you? He did the Flying Lotus and took Adam Johnson's head clean off.
I'm like, there's no way. And look, God love her. She doesn't know hockey or anything. So I don't know what she was talking about, what kind of fourth-hand story.
Spinning roundhouse, like Bruce Lee on ice skates.
And I've heard other things she says. I know she gets like the really garbage Facebook feed. Well, she'll come to you with every like conspiracy thing out there,
Yeah, okay.
So she's one of those people. And so like, whatever. It's like, are you, did you know tap water turns you into a reptile? And,
I heard that.
Weird shit
it's
like
the
that.
fluoride.
Yeah. Okay. But so I knew I had to look this up to just mostly to laugh at her. But the grain of truth in it was, that it was being made a big deal out of by morons out there. And no, it definitely was not like a roundhouse kick to the throat like she thought it was. And
it was. I mean, you can say it was a hockey play. I mean, it's just not.
Yeah, no, it's not like they were fighting. It's not even like there's a fight gone wrong. That would have been awful, right? Because when she said you kicked them. I obviously knew they were not doing Blades of Glory reenactments. So I said, at most, if there's any truth to this, there was some kind of scrum, people on top of each other, and one guy maybe made a kicking motion with somebody on top of him. That's one thing, is definitely a no. I mean, guys will fight each other, and it'll turn a little bit to wrestling, punches, but no kicking, right? We're not going to have kicking.
Can't be kicking
with skates. Wow. So, yeah.
Oh, man. That's just god-awful.
It is.
Kid Charlie McAvoy was just suspended from Boston for 4 games. I didn't see the hit, but I heard it was really fucking dirty. I like that the NHL is cracking down on this and just kind of setting the tone early in the season. Like, this bullshit's not going to fly. And especially if you're going after, guys like Keisher and, guys that are important to the league and important to their teams. And everybody is, absolutely. But like you said, it does depend sometimes on who you hit and who does the hitting also. Yes. Sean Avery, if he's still in the league, he's going to get a much, I think, stiffer penalty, or at least a lot less benefit of the doubt than a guy who, maybe has never gotten a match penalty or something like that before.
Right. It's going to be really hard for Connor McDavid to pick up a suspension. It really is. He's going to have to make it so goddamn obvious and brutal that they're going to have to do it because they're not going to want to do it. Now, that being said, can you imagine this? Like, Connor McDavid's doesn't have much hitting in his game for a reason. He's busy doing more important things for his team.
But Cale Makar got suspended last year in the playoffs against Seattle. Yeah. Yep. And that's Cale Makar.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, the NHL, there are certain dudes, but if it is that blatant, they're gonna suspend you. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the Devils.
Yes.
What'd you guys think of the defensive game on Sunday?
Better. I think it looked better. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's there yet. I think Brendan Smith is still hurting this team.
Do you want to hear a crazy thing about Brendan Smith?
Yeah.
Like, Brendan Smith has been playing bad, right? He's ranked Now, he's ranked 92 overall for all defensemen in the league and all these advanced metrics and everything like that. But here's to tell you how bad we have been playing as a team defensively. Brendan Smith is second in the advanced metrics on our team.
Wow.
And he's obviously just been terrible, but he's been, the one that I think it's been more, like I said, obvious because he's taking bad penalties and, his mistakes are amplified a lot more, I think, because they lead to goals and stuff. I was shocked. To be fair,
we're probably more tolerant of some of the younger guys making errors.
Yes.
I look at this guy like Brendan Smith again. You're supposed to be the experienced guy in this team, not making the bonehead plays. I didn't look to you to score me some goals, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. But you can't be this defensively. We need you right now to be shored up. So I'm probably more critical of him personally on that level.
And I agree. I am too. Right now, our defensive ranks, Siegenthaler at 1, Smith at 2, Luke Hughes at 3, Kevin Ball at 4, Dougie Hamilton at 5, and John Marino at 6.
Now that's shocking to me. I know he hasn't had the start that I expected. I'll be honest. I could tell he's not himself consistently. But I think he's going to get there. I'm not worried at all.
I think he got there against the Wild on Sunday. I thought he played a solid game.
Very steady, slow improvement on his game the last 3
But looked like John Marino.
He was such a rock last year. I mean, he didn't have a bad game last year. He never slumped at all. So I was kind of not expecting this, but I do think it's a temporary thing for whatever reason. I don't even know what it is. And I think he's going to get totally on his game. So I'm not too worried about him. I am shocked to see that he was our, metrics supported, or at least what they say, our worst defenseman so far. I did not see that coming.
No, me neither. But I think he'll change that quickly, especially if he keeps playing like he did on Sunday. There's one guy I definitely want to talk about real quick. So, we always blow fireworks out of Tom Fitzgerald's ass.
So glad you said fireworks.
I thought he was just going to pause.
Just at how great he's been as a general manager, as the steward of this team right now. Sure. He has really done a fantastic job of putting all these pieces in place. And, last year, right after the holidays, beginning of the new year, the little rumblings about Devils want Timo Meier started happening. There were a couple of other teams in the mix, but for the most part, it was just Devils going after him. And we get him. And I love that Timo's on this team, and he's going to help this team, and he's locked up for a long time. And that was a great move, and we all were just celebrating Tom Fitzgerald for it. Yep. And the same thing last year when he basically fleeced Pittsburgh, and we got the aforementioned John Marino for Ty Smith.
Yep.
Is Tyler Toffoli the biggest heist that this dude pulled off since he's been the general manager?
I know. It is amazing.
At this point, today, it maybe is. I mean,
I honestly did not see it coming. Like when he picked him up, I'm like, oh wow, this guy's good. I'm interested to see what happens there. But I did not realize
30-goal scorer that had the potential to do better on this team for sure. Then I think he'd have 7 already. Of course not. Like that's
8.
Almost a goal a game. But my goodness, this guy's on his way, huh?
8 games, 7 goals, 3 assists for 10 points. As opposed to the guy we gave up, Sharon Govich, who played 9 games for Calgary, has 1 goal and 1 assist and 2 points. And it's just been like this dude has been playing with Hughes his whole freaking career. Like it is just clicking.
I'd be losing my mind right now. If I was Calgary, like, dude,
oh my god,
this is what we got from the Devils, and this is where. Look at him now.
He's out there, I never really thought about it from their side.
Oh,
what exactly were they looking to gain? Was it more control? Were they up against a cap? I mean, why?
I think there was some money involved, and Toffoli was going to need a contract they didn't want to sign, in order to stay.
From what I heard, and I think a lot of this came from Toffoli too, was that he was in the position fully expecting to sign with Calgary. And like Dan said, he didn't have a contract after this year, and he just assumed that he would get one done. And they had signed a couple of other guys and kind of weren't going to Toffoli. So he finally, just said, well, if you're not going to sign me, then get me out of here. And then he was a Devil.
But does Sharon Govich still have service on his contract? You would think that they'd want to at least pick up a couple of years if they thought they were going to.
I don't think they got anywhere near the same money though. Like they're not. Yeah, it's going to be a savings to Calgary.
Sure, and, I get the savings part. This right now is seeming incredibly lopsided. It does seem like like he's been here forever. He looks so comfortable as a Devil.
Oh, definitely. Especially if you're, a Calgary fan. I guess what you have to do is be like, no, our GM has a longer term plan, and it does involve some short term pain. So goodbye Toffoli. I get it. It's possible. I don't know. Do we consider Calgary in a rebuild mode necessarily? I don't even know what they're doing with that. Maybe. Well, other than that, I'm just if it doesn't make sense, and I'm a fan, I'd be so aggravated to lose.
I mean, Chris had some metrics back in the summer about why Calgary will probably be back in the playoff picture.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, are we still calling this a rebuild mode? Because I thought they were kind of coming out of it.
Well, I thought that they were too, but they haven't played like it yet this year. But I just kind of assumed with Huberdeau there and Nordstrom coming back, and maybe he'll have a better year. And it didn't. It hasn't worked out yet. But Sharon Govich does have a contract up until next 24-25 season.
Okay.
So he'll be a UFA then. And he has
2 years at how much?
Let me see. So right now it says that his salary is $3.1 million. His cap hit's 3.1 for this season. So I guess he was, this is all about where he was drafted and everything like that.
They're saving some money, but that's
saved about half. Yeah, they got another year of service.
8 less goals in this time period.
Yeah.
His current contract.
And then first 10 games.
He signed a 2-year, $6.2 million contract extension with the Flames.
Okay.
Yeah. So they brought him in and they signed him right away to a 2-year deal. So he's this year and next year. So I'm guessing that Sharon Govich was, I guess, a restricted free agent when we traded him. I'm not. Yeah. So. Yeah. But I mean, this might be the biggest heist yet that Tom Fitzgerald pulled off.
It's amazing. I mean, the Timo Meier was pretty amazing too, because that wasn't done like in the dark or real quick like this one.
Right.
I mean, it had all the spotlights on it, and I was just kind of shocked. Like that's it. That's all we gave up.
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly.
You knew you were going to have to pay something for him, and I guess in aggregate, it was definitely not nothing, but it was way less than people were expecting. Oh, they're going to want Mercer. They're going to want. There was a couple of names that were floating around. Like, no, we can't get rid of these guys. It's crazy.
And
I was talking about, hey, if they're going to take Holtz, I guess it's okay. I would do it for Holtz. I think at least a couple of us agreed. And in
maybe
the end, none of those big. Yeah, definitely.
Everyone but you, Bob.
But the point was, I was shocked that we got, Meier for as little as it was. So it's hard to compare the two deals. It's just that Toffoli's so unexpected like that.
And we thought that, Sharon Govich was probably going to be part of that Timo Meier deal.
That's right.
And then when that didn't happen,
what are you going to give Calgary? You can't get Toffoli if you don't have your Sharon Govich that they wanted so badly.
Just what a freaking amazing moves that he makes. And it's crazy that he was able to get Toffoli, and that Toffoli is just fit in so seamlessly right now. I just love watching him play on that line. Yeah. That is a special line. And I'm telling you, even if you don't sign Toffoli after this year, and I don't know what's going to happen, I would think if he keeps playing like this and the chemistry is good, that Tom Fitzgerald will sign him. But even if he walks after this year, there will be a line of veterans, good veterans that will want to come, even if it's only for a year or two. Like, near the end of my career, and I get to play with Jack, and I can maybe win a cup. That's going to be huge.
You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried that Fitzpatrick's going to get basically blackballed out of, if I was an owner, I would tell my GM, look, if the phone rings and it's the Devils, do not talk to them. This team is not trading with the Devils. We're not going to fucking do it, because it's it's doing a deal with the Devil is a treacherous thing these days. Because I wonder if this guy's got mind control powers. I don't know how he does it. Doing hypnotism or something to make these deals. It's insane.
It really is insane.
I really can't, credit. There's not another GM that you would dream of having right now. I mean, who out there can do this kind of turnaround, with making these consistently great moves? Who's doing that?
Yeah, and everybody comes into a job as a general manager, as a coach, with a plan, you know, and very rarely do those plans ever come to fruition, or do they ever go seamlessly?
Do all the stars align so that their plan pops out the way they dreamed?
And I know that we haven't won anything yet.
That's right.
It does look like Tom Fitzgerald's plan is, to quote the great Hannibal, coming together. It really does look like
exciting about it too, because if you can do these deals right, what it makes you excited about as a fan is that each deal, which is amazing by itself, is part of a larger plan that he's got this whole design and build that you agree with. Mm-hmm. And I want to see that because, Devils fans, we know one way to make our dynasty from past older Devil fans like us, it was built in a totally different philosophy at a totally different time.
Yeah, that's right.
And there is a style of team it looks like Fitzgerald's going for. We were wondering where the grit meter was, and it's definitely a little bit closer to what we wanted. The moves he's made pointed in that direction.
Yeah, and I think,
but everybody likes to play their own. I want to design my team because I want to be GM. Right. And when you put yourself against him, everybody I think has little things they want. I can tell you that I do like the direction he's taking the team. I think every little move that I wanted to see this team make year to year, he's given me most of what I wanted. Difference between him and me is he knows how to make that happen, and I have no idea what it would be like to run anything. But everybody's a pretend GM in their mind. You know that.
Sure, of course. Well, I know we talked a little bit. Unfortunately, Tony is not here this evening because we can, hear his whole spiel on his Las Vegas Raiders and what they did as far as at 1 a.m. Eastern time today, basically clearing house after the debacle that happened on Monday night against the Lions. I can't wait to hear Tony's point on all that. But, there are still 9 football games to go, guys. And the NFL season's going strong. And DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with an offer that's even stronger, like Bobby.
Nice.
Bet $5 on any game this week to score $200 instantly in bonus bets, and DraftKings is not stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this October.
Sweet.
Now, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I think I would actually throw a few bucks down this week on Vegas. They're playing the Giants. They're favored by 1.5. Everything is going wrong for them. They have an interim head coach. It's a shit show there. But that's kind of when teams kind of say, you know what, we're just going to go out there and play ball, and they end up making a little run. Right. So I would maybe take Las Vegas with the 1.5 over the Giants because I just think the Giants stink.
Yeah, that's the other part.
That is
equation. Yep.
So get in on the game day greatness and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5 on the NFL. That's code THPN only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Oh, Jesus.
Somebody like the crown.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. Please play responsibly. Mm-hmm. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, Louisiana, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance or 7 days, whichever comes first. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
What's with Ontario? I want to know.
I want to know too.
How many provinces in Canada? Yeah. There's only one where it's void in. That just doesn't even make sense.
I don't know.
And I know for a fact they have betting there. I was in Toronto. They have casinos in Toronto.
Maybe just something with DraftKings.
Well, I wasn't going to insult them like that.
Well, I'm just saying. Maybe there's a beef between DraftKings and the province of Ontario.
Could be.
We're going to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. They probably bet on...
Pucker's investigations.
Exactly. We need one of those. Maybe they bet on Montreal instead of Toronto.
Right.
Service. They handicap them more favorably than any Ontario team.
Well, basically, fuck Ontario. I think that's what they're trying to say.
Yep. Ottawa's in Ontario too, right? So fuck them both.
So, and they're in some shit too. We'll talk about that after this. Bobby, you're up.
Yeah, I got the fun stuff.
Yeah, you do.
Listen, Devils fans, we get it. Since the beginning of time, you've been dealing with the Rangers fans coming into our building and acting like they own the place, acting like it's a bonus home game because it's closer or less expensive, or more likely just because they're tired of that dumpy, dark pit they call an arena. Regardless of why, it sucks. But there is something we can do for one night at least. The Uncle Puckers, along with a few other Devils podcasts and content providers, are spreading the word to take over Madison Square Garbage on Monday, March 11th. Let's all get together in our best home reds and loudly and proudly support Jersey's team. You know, the playoffs last year in New York had some of the largest, most vocal showing of Devils fans in our 40-year history. We do have the fan base to take over that pit of despair, and we owe it to the entitled across the river to do just that. Now understand, Uncle Puckers are not saying this is about organizing one section of traveling fans, but rather a full infiltration of the world's most forgettable arena. So get whatever ticket you can, and together we can help spread the red on Monday, March 11th.
Nice.
Thank you.
Well, that is exciting. Definitely.
You sound exciting. You are selling it right now.
Yeah, it really
How
is.
exciting you sounded.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I think this is going to be so much fun, and I just hope that the Devil fans show up.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate that building. I hate just going
It's
there.
so it is so dark and nasty, and I can't.
I like the concept. I like this.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I want somebody else to do it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it may be. If
I'd rather
if the Rangers had a
go
nice
with you, I'd
arena,
rather go
we
home.
wouldn't care. We
Exactly.
would just go.
It just sucks there too.
Yeah, I mean,
The
it's
people
nothing
suck.
worse than right after a hockey game wanting to go take a shower, and that's how you feel when you're there.
I don't like that building. I really don't. I don't like it for concerts. I don't like anything about it.
What do you like, Dan?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what I do like is the holiday season. You know,
do, huh?
I
It's
love
coming
it.
up.
But I'm not. You don't know what holiday I'm talking about. It could be any holiday.
It could be.
Yeah, but no, we call things the holiday season, and we generally talk about it a little later in the year. But I want to talk about the holiday season, even though it's only Halloween. You know, I mean, I can't start too early.
That's a holiday, Dan.
That's right.
So we're good.
It's a holiday season already with Halloween. But, you know, let's think a little bit more forward. How about in a couple weeks, we'll be having Thanksgiving, another great holiday.
Yes, I love Thanksgiving.
We give a lot of gifts at our house for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, that's what you should do is think about materialism, because there is no greater message when it comes to Thanksgiving than materialism. It's the things that matter. And whatever we want to do is really load up on as much as we can at dinner to get ready for Black Friday, right? Black Friday. That's materialism on crack. And you can get everything for your family to show them that you love them in materials, in material goods.
Well, what other way can you show them?
Oh, there is no other way. It's
exactly.
You know, look where we are. But you can do this. And then when you shop on Black Friday, I think you should check out Raycon. Now, Raycon right now is saying you could save up to 50% off.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not. That's exactly what it says right here in front of me. Up to 50% off.
50?
Yeah, because you know why? Their early Black Friday sale, it's not on Black Friday. This is how they get you. It's Black Friday now already. It has started
on
right
Wednesday,
now. Dude. It's the day after Halloween, November 1st, and every day thereafter, it has been Black Friday.
Which
is like crazy. So it's like making this a whole month. It's like a Black Friday History Month or something. So this kind of extension is so good for the consumer because you can save on your Raycons up to 50%. And I know you've heard me talk about these Raycons before.
Yeah. Yes, we have.
Really? But, you know, had I told you about the adventures I've had, I probably will continue little by little over the next few shows, tell you about some of the adventures I've had with Raycons. They're amazing. They are really good. And I can't say enough about my experience with them. I really can't. But, you know, Raycon, I did a little research here in the form of reading this piece in front of me. It says that they first made a name for themselves in the audio space, which is kind of like, you know, the market for audio. It's the audio space with products like everyday earbuds. They were like some of their classics, everyday earbuds. They were great because you could wear them every day.
Hence the name.
Yeah, it was aptly named. I used to have 6-day earbuds, and it sucks because you never know which day. And
right.
You're like,
so
today I can't use.
Oh shit! Wednesday they don't work. This is bullshit.
Raycon said, "Fuck all that. We got everyday earbuds."
It's like Raycon's 7-minute abs.
That's right.
It really
is. It's like Raycon's 7-minute commercial.
Exactly. And that's the problem here. But they boast like 32-hour battery life. They fit in your ear perfectly. I know you put a lot of things in your ear.
Yeah.
Nothing fits like this. Nothing. So, you're going to enjoy that.
What else?
Well, they got a 5-star review from Magic 180 Cable.
Oh, okay. What is that?
And it says that these are Type-C devices, which is good because my cord is Type-C, so that's going to be perfect.
What are we talking about?
This is what it says. Now, this next part I find difficult. Not gonna lie. They also Raycon makes faucet filters.
Like for your house?
Yeah. So look, we all live in New Jersey. The water is questionable. You want to filter your water? Raycon could do that.
With what?
The same company that brought you 32-hour battery life earbuds also makes a faucet filter. It's
one
of the best.
Does that fit in your ear?
It fits perfectly. So, it's a must-have, ensuring the water you use to wash your face and brush your teeth is, actually clean. So they're known for delivering high-quality products and thoughtful features at half the price from other premium tech brands. It's no wonder that they get 5-star reviews. I mean, it's awesome. So let's get to what is out there for our fans. Besides great products like these, you can get 20% off everything on their site currently, and select products up to 50% off. So you really should beat the crowds now, because you wait really till Black Friday to get trampled at Walmart, or you shop like this. And I prefer not to get trampled at Walmart again this year.
Yeah, that was a shame.
But everybody should hurry now to raycon.com/THPN to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score up to 50% off Raycon's products. Just said that. Buyraycon.com/THPN.
And that could be for everyday earbuds or water faucet or a plug.
What kind of plug?
Didn't you say there was a butt
plug? Oh, Type-C. The Type-C plug.
Yeah.
That not one. The Type B plug.
No.
The Type-C plug,
which
for
is
your
the
C.
only type.
Yeah, it's, I guess they mean like the USB-C, which is the common one that we like.
So Raycon's doing some new things now, and they're back on board with us and the Hockey Podcast Network. So definitely check out Raycon.com, DraftKings, and what Bobby was talking about. The Devils going to New York to take over Madison Shit Garden.
I love this idea. It's going to be great.
Garbage.
Well, okay. How about Madison Shit Garbage?
Okay. You're putting a hat on a hat. It's no good. It's too many bad things.
All right.
What
Madison Square Garbage?
What about moron shit garbage? Now you've changed all the words.
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you still reading?
Hat on a hat. No, we're done with all the reads. We're done with all the reads. That was wonderful. You guys, everybody did a fantastic job. That might be the best Raycon ad ever read. I love it.
No, yeah.
So we got what? We got a little bit of a road trip coming up, right, Bobby?
Yeah.
What are our next bunch of games? I think
4 on the road in a row, I think.
Yeah, how long are they on the road for?
Well, we got Minnesota, St. Louis, Chicago, Avalanche on Tuesday.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Devils, Avs Tuesday in Colorado.
Yep.
That's going to be a good one. So when we do our pucker predictions on Saturday, we're going to have the Chicago game, the Colorado game, and what else?
Capitals on Friday.
Okay. All right.
That's a good
and
week
speaking of the Capitals, so apparently Nick Backstrom has left the team.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if he's retiring or, I mean, he's old and he probably should retire, but he apparently I don't know any reasons, but it was just reported today that he has left the Capitals.
Yeah, that dude was awesome for a very long time. And he didn't, I mean, in the hockey community, he got the credit he deserves, of course. But in general, I don't think he did. The amount of points that he put up, Ovechkin owes him a lot for some
you're
of the
right.
points he got. I mean, he really was a hell of a player. So I enjoyed watching him a lot, and I enjoyed drafting him a lot when I was doing the fantasy leagues. And he's the type of guy that, I don't really do that stuff anymore, but, it traditionally would be like a second or third round kind of pick, because you get all the fancy names first. And I would never hesitate to get him literally as quick as possible because I knew those points were going to be up there, with Ovi's, basically. So,
and he was battling injuries and stuff the last couple of years, right? He was in and out of the lineup. So, I mean, it might just be that, he's realizing that maybe enough's enough. And, he's got his cup, made a ton of money, possibly Hall of Fame career. I mean, I think you can maybe argue that about Nick Backstrom.
Yeah, I would look forward to, diving into his stats and points and all that and talking about that one day. But on the surface right now, I can tell you it would seem like it. A very long career with a lot of points every year. That's
a
what
tough
I remember
decision, though, for these guys. Do you ever think about that? Like, most of us in our lives, never going to face that decision of,
like when to walk away, you mean?
Yeah, and it's different for different players. If a guy already has a big legacy carved out for himself and has made a decent amount of money, he's not thinking, well, I got to go play in Europe for a couple of years. And he's just, we're talking about, that kind of decision is even rare in professional sports, right? Most guys are going to hang on to the end until financially they have to get out for something else. So these guys, that retire like this, it's kind of a special thing. I think looking at it, I don't know what's worse. Maybe you have an opinion. Stay in that extra year that really you just let everybody and yourself down, or retire and you're watching year after year going, I can still play. I feel like I could have been on this team. I could have been on that team. Like, it must be so hard to live with the road not taken.
Yeah. When do you know? Like, do you think, okay, let's use like Jonathan Taves. Do you think Jonathan Taves right now is sitting home going, I could play. I can definitely play. Who wants me, or do I hang it up? I wasn't very good my last year or so in Chicago, my last couple of years, but he was on a really bad team. Yeah. So, I mean, do you see a world where Jonathan Taves comes back, or even Patty Kane, I mean, like, you're right. Like, when do you know it's over?
Put yourself in that position, then compare it to your own life. Like, play with I can only, if I could play, I would, because I do it recreationally. It's not the same thing. These guys have done this as a professional career, and they could, they're really trying to judge, are they going to be on that bright light stage and just, show themselves to finally fade away? And is that too embarrassing? I mean, I don't know. I wonder why they would stop in a way, is what I'm saying too.
Right. And I think every professional athlete sees themselves going out with a championship, the last game, but very, very rarely does that happen. I mean, maybe that's why Mr. Devil is Mr. Devil, because he walked away at the right time.
And I think too, I would be more concerned with money and family. I know that sounds crazy. As fans, we look at these people, and especially the players we like, we're like, oh, they're not all about the money, and we could tell you Jack Hughes could have got more money, but he's a team guy. But as these guys have families and they're cruising on towards, you have to weigh it like, do I want to be doing another year of 8 billion air flights, bus rides, everything else that goes with this, a time away from my family, when I'm sitting on how much money that I should just go enjoy right now,
Yeah, there's so many different factors. I mean, you start to get inside the head too, and there's just, again, that human element where you typically just expect to be paid kind of more and more in any position of your life as you go. And with sports, you have to come to the reality that you're probably offering less to the team. And that's where a lot of the imbalance happens, right? That's where a lot of these athletes can't really, whether it's them or the agent or a combination, they don't really kind of break down and honestly say, what kind of value am I now? I just came off a $10 million a year contract. I'm far from that player. are you going to be honest with yourself and, yeah, I'll sign for $1.5 million because I'm going to go down a third, fourth line role and chip in 5-6 goals a year? Yeah. Or do you still think, no, I'm the same guy I was 10 years ago?
But they're also looking like, why would I stay another year to make, 1/10 of what I made in the.
Well, it's harder on the big guys, right? That have made the major money. But if you talk about kind of the more kind of middle of the pack guys that maybe they got a $3 million contract for a year or two, but their careers are short, and you got to try to make as much money as you can at a time. If you can hang on for another year at $550,000 or whatever the minimum is now, I mean, it's certainly not terrible living.
How you just put that out there, one guy does come to mind to me, and that's Blake Wheeler. Blake Wheeler,
thinking of him.
Was an exceptional player and has made a lot of money and is not the same player he used to be, and didn't go and do like Patty Kane, maybe demanding top money, demanding top minutes. He said, I will come to New York. I will play for $800,000. I will play in the bottom six, and I'll do the best I can. And that's a guy who knows.
I love that attitude.
Yeah, knows his role, knows what he can bring, is not asking to somebody to break the bank. He understands he's not
all driven by ego, too. When I look at sometimes the bigger names and they're like worried about protecting maybe their stats and legacy, or just like,
And he's still got the ability to kind of have those bang moments where, old Whitney comes in, he, gets a goal or two that you really need. Maybe wins you a game or two in a playoffs if it goes that route. Like he'll still have that in him, but on the day to day, a little less minutes, a little less energy.
Another guy is Oliver, what's his name? Oliver Ekman-Larsson from Florida. And they were both bought out. I think like wasn't Wheeler bought out by Nashville this year, and then Larsson was bought out by I think Vancouver, right? So like these guys had teams basically tell them they didn't want them. We're going to pay you not to play for us, right. And then going and like being humbled by that, but going to other teams, taking whatever you were willing to pay, and like a guy like Larsson, he's going to try and build himself back up. A guy like Wheeler, you're at the tail end of your career. You probably only have a couple of years left. But I do.
True. I think that's a movie about hockey players. These are the people you would be more interested in, right?
Absolutely.
Like, everybody knows the big names. It'll tell you the story of their debut in the league and the big names in the sport. But really, the more human stories that are more interesting are those guys.
I've always favored athletes that have a little realism to their role and on the team and what it means for the team concept. You can go back to Brodeur. We've talked about it a million times, how much money he could have left for. Like we talked about Patrick Ilias could have left for a couple of million more. Brodeur could have left for like $4 or $5 million more a year.
Oh yeah,
really in his
peak. Jim Dowd. When we talked about Jim Dowd, when we talked with him, right? He is the epitome of that too, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
But you got to be able to do it because I forgot to bring this up. It was probably a month ago or more now. But one of the XM morning shows. It's one of these things I know, but you don't think about all the time. How like a player taking $500,000 less. I'm talking a big contract guy, like somebody who wants 9.5 and sells for 9 or something like that. That $500,000 less come trade deadline time, forecasted out by the fact that 3/4 of the year is gone.
Right,
it's a $2 million rental or a $3 million rental. It's not, now we can go get a $500,000 player at the end of the year. You're getting a salaried player at almost $3 million when you're trying to do it. And that's why for each and every guy that takes $250 off or $500 off, the end of the year, that could be, trade rentals of, $8 million. So it is significant when you look at what you can do down the line. And of course, you want to build a team that is
signing an important guy on your team now who's going to be a UFA, and maybe you didn't have the money, but with everybody else kind of taking a little less, you can keep the team together.
It's a good way of looking at it. Like you're right. The trade deadline gets are in some ways a rental. Almost always, you can say, they're going to stay with the team, but you have to go after them and get them, right? Because Meyer, that was a great example.
And most teams aren't trading high value players that have a lot of term left, especially if the team, unless the team is complete garbage and it's a bad contract, like, Carlson out in San Jose and stuff, those, but like for the most part, like Timo Meyer had, this was it for his deal. He was he was an RFA, but he was a free agent after this year.
Right. Bob made a good point about keeping your cap open enough to have that rental ability.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do that. And you're right. When our players pitch in and take a little bit under market value, that means a lot. it shows they have a long view of the team. It's exciting for fans to think that they got that kind of buy-in.
I mean, I think right now I wouldn't do anything to change this Devil team, but, I'm sure already Tom Fitzgerald has his, the wheels going and, what kind of good defenseman can he get and where can he get them from? And,
no doubt. I mean, this team's offense could probably keep him above the pack all the way to the playoffs. And Tom Fitzgerald's still going to go out there and make sure if he needs a steady stay-at-home D-man that's really going to make a difference, he'll make it happen. He's not going to let it go that far and say, well, this is one piece we really need, but I'm not going to go do it.
Last year, there was talk of like, should he go deep this year? Should he, keep his powder dry and wait till next year?
Right.
And he showed no inclination to, wait for next year. That was last year. This year, with the moves made, I think that's beyond question. He's not going to stand pat if there's a move to be made.
No, if there's any kind of weakness that he feels that this team needs to overcome, he's going to go out and get it.
Right.
And I love having this general manager like this. I mean, I love having a guy that is just not afraid to take his shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For Fitzgerald's sake, for the most part, it's worked. But it's so much better than having a general manager who just wants the status quo. I mean, just let's just keep our head above water.
With some things he has no control over, like the defenseman. We say he'll go out and get him, but you've got young guys too, so you can't give up too much.
Right.
And they want to still keep the future intact with the defenseman position. You got less guys. You got to be careful about.
And we have so many young D-men in our pipeline that are going to be really good NHL players. They're not all going to be able to play for New Jersey.
No, they can't, and that's the rationale too behind the fact that we look at how deep we are right now and how good this team is, with a lot of guys who haven't even performed up to their cards yet. To be honest with you, like some nowhere near as close as they should be. Not all these young kids are going to get to play. Like, we still have a major strength position back there for when we need it. And even the defenseman that I brought up, Dan, that's not like, I'm not envisioning getting somebody with a bunch of term. I'm saying this is more, serious rental, because we do have a couple of definitely a couple defensemen that need to be on this roster long term.
Right.
But if it comes to winning this year,
you can go out and get
there's
the guy.
A couple moves this team can still make.
Yeah, sure. I would say even one that would sting a little, you would accept. If this guy's out of the lineup, that kind of sucks. But I'm sure Fitzgerald's not going to disappoint.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way: nobody counted on Toffoli being here. That was a shock. Now he's here. Right away, we all said, well, probably not going to sign him. He's going to want X, and we already pay all this. Like we said today, this guy scores 40 goals, fits in the team real well. Now he pivots and says, all right, I do need to sign this guy. So not only am I going to sign this guy, but I'm probably going to do a trade for someone else and probably relinquish a prospect or two that now is just blocked. So let me get the most I can get for this prospect in another area where we're maybe not quite as good, which is probably right now at least that sixth defenseman.
Man, how many fucking plates does this dude have spinning, right? I mean, Jesus, it's crazy. How do you fucking even sleep as a general manager for any sports franchise, especially hockey? Because I think hockey's probably the toughest GM job to have, and only because you're like, the NFL is very hard. I get it, but the NFL also, like, your main job as is draft and free agency, your scouting and stuff. Like, you have, as a hockey general manager, you have to keep the pulse on not just what your team's doing, what's your minor league affiliate doing, what's your ECHL affiliate doing, what are your European affiliates doing?
Teams they run, and that's the thing too. That we think of these GMs like he's some mad genius. Like, did you see that? What was it? The Queen's Gambit HBO series or whatever it was, Netflix series. Well, anyway, she's like some chess master, and she looks up when she lays down on her bed. She looks at the ceiling and sees the pieces moving. Right? She's always thinking about the game, like you said. I don't know how they could even sleep.
Yeah,
and there is a lot of that. But I bet you a lot of these successful guys like Fitzgerald, they probably have like teams of people they trust.
Sure,
and they're just on their ass about knowing everything out there, and they got a direction. Because it's such you're right, so many, as you said, spinning plates.
Yeah, Fitzgerald's doing such a great job. And so, I mean, we're 5-2-1. We are in a 2-game win streak. We'll wrap this show up, but I'm just curious. We got Minnesota, second half of the home and home, and then we go to St. Louis. What do you guys think? Is this thing going to keep on going?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Turned a corner, right? I
Feels
believe
like
they're
it.
play closer and closer to a full game. That was their best game as far as out of 60 minutes last game, and I think they're going to build on that. Yeah.
A little more consistency all around, a little more team play. And again, I'm really excited by the prospect of guys that have done shit so far are not going to do that all year. And these are guys I'm literally not even worried about, although it's starting to get a little long now.
I mean, other than Mercer, who are you talking about?
Well, Mercer in particular.
Yeah.
Heischer before he got hurt. Palat still only has 2 assists. Lazar has played in most of the games. I don't expect him to be a big point guy. I like the game that he brings and other stuff, but I still would like to see something chipped in from those lower lines a little bit. So a little more balance throughout on the lower half. A couple of our guys that should be doing at least something. And for Mercer, he's like one of the keys for me on this next Minnesota game. Like, I just want to see Mercer. And I don't even care about getting on the board. Like, I want his presence felt the way he used to be. You know, he's like that little spark plug that he can dig the puck out. He makes things happen.
You're right. He has not been as dynamic out there on the ice. It's not just the lack of being on the scoreboard. He's not getting too many great chances that are getting stoned, and he just doesn't have the touch. He's like visibly less dynamic, and I don't know what's going on with that. You know, if he's having problems fitting a certain role that they're all trying to figure out, or what it is.
I think that's a big part of it, Dan. I really do. I think, like, you know, especially this early in the season, everybody has to just settle in. You know, early in, everybody's trying to do everything, you know, and you kind of saw that in the beginning of the year. They are a very young team, you know, they can't, and with a lot of new pieces this year. As great as last season was, now you're building upon it. It's not like you have, this is the thing about the Devils. They don't have that winning culture yet. They're getting it. But they're not the Boston Bruins, Carolina. Even Carolina struggled, so I won't use them this year. But like even
it's like
Vegas,
a way you can imagine them saying, "This is not how we do things here."
Right.
Well, it is how we've been doing things here. That's what's wrong. You know, we're still coming out of that funk.
Exactly, and we're coming into now starting to be that team, like, okay, led by Jack and Nico and guys like Palat and stuff, that they set the culture that when you come in here, everybody has a role. What is that? Down to everyone. And it's starting to. And I think that, you know, over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, this is going to be a team that gets considerably better every single year because of that culture.
Their identities. You know, you don't want to see, there's a pitfall here with some of the star players we got here that we could become a 1 or 2 star player team and the rest of the team's not a full buy-in.
Right.
And so we need like that, you know, firing all cylinders, every line being their best. And Mercer's a huge part of that. So I really expect him to turn it around. I just wonder if they're like asking him in this new position to play differently. And he's not been able to play the game he wants because he's trying to play differently. And if so, how? Is it more defensive they're asking of him? Is it the chemistry of the players? They want a certain kind of play, not you know, as much off the rush, but dump the chase a little bit more. What is this role that this line is playing? Is something that he's adjusting to, or maybe something totally different that he was just going to go through no matter how the team was set up? I don't know.
Now,
he's been all over the place.
What were the lines on Sunday? Because, like I said, I missed the beginning.
Mercer centered the third line, I believe, right?
So Mercer with Holla and
Lazar.
Lazar,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah. And he did look better.
And then so who was centering the second line?
That's a good question.
With Palat and Bratt.
Did he move up there? Now I don't remember.
Maybe at times. I don't remember.
I know McLeod moved up too, so maybe.
Yeah, I thought McLeod was centering the third line the other night. I don't know.
So maybe Mercer did move all the way up there. I don't really recall.
I think he'll get on the board, and I think he's going to get on the board tomorrow. I do.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Because they're probably going to be going up. Yeah, exactly. And you know, he has been more noticeable the last 2 games, the last 2 wins. I think he's been a little bit more noticeable. He's had a couple. Thought he skated his ass off in the Wild game. I thought he was around the puck a lot. But like you said, I think a lot of this now is just starting to settle down, and everybody kind of finding their places. Things are starting to really click. The power play, even the penalty kills have been better the last few games. So, yeah, I think they're going to build off this, and they're going to really start, I think coming into their own. And, I think after this season, whatever happens, I think that's where, this team will have that winning culture. And it'll be, like you said, like, when guys came into this team fresh in, anywhere from 95 to 2005 or whenever you walk in, you had Stevens, you had Danica, you had these guys. Basically, this is how we do things. We don't fuck around. We don't blah, blah, blah. However it is. And everybody bought in. And I think now, we're just kind of getting there now, to figure it all. Like, who's the real leaders on this team? And I see Jack as one of the biggest leaders. I think that this team just will run through a brick wall for that dude.
Definitely. That's another bummer about Nico being out. I feel like he needed to increase his presence as a captain this year.
I agree.
And it definitely doesn't help that he's hurt now and is out, because it takes away. Literally his presence is not here when he's out, and he needs to be more of a presence felt in the locker room as the captain. I think he's got his own style about him, and I think the team, it might be the proper fit for the team. But, I just would like to see that be more of a leadership position that you can kind of notice out on the ice.
Yeah, I think by mid-year, we're going to see all that. We're going to see everything balance back out. Actually, I do apologize. I just kind of refreshed the page. It looks like it was McLeod that moved all the way up to the second line, and Hall has centered Mercer and Lazar.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So it was Mercer with Palat and Bratt.
Mercer with Halla and Lazar.
Oh, McLeod moved up.
McLeod moved all the way up
okay.
with Brett, right?
All right.
Yeah, and not for nothing. I'm not doing this to pick on anybody or whatever, because I think there's a lot of guys on the team that still need to move. But I still I don't quite understand Palat's promotion to the second line. I think that for what he gives, and he is a hell of a player, he gives it better on the third line. And the demotion to Holtz just isn't sitting with me well. And I know, I'm the Holtz guy, right? But beyond that, he has literally done nothing that says he needs to be down there.
But I think he's played really good on that fourth line. And I think
but he hasn't played bad on any line.
But I think that the way, especially the goal he scored the other night, I think that against Buffalo, I think it was, right? That net front goal is a gritty goal. It's a fourth line goal. He went and got himself in the right position.
That was a
he
great
did
goal. I like that.
everything. He skated his ass off there.
He certainly did.
And I think the fourth line takes that pressure off of him. That hey, you're our sniper. You got to score.
Now down the wing and make a pretty shot in the corner.
Right now, it's just go and hustle and work hard, and it'll be there for you. And I think the fourth line could be very good for him. I really do. I know you hate Palat and you want to sleep with.
I don't hate Palat, but we're 8 games
more of that
in,
style of player,
and you still have 2 assists, and you're going up and up the charts. And I just feel like if he had a better given role, he can do more for this team in that very specific role. You could still move Holtz up and down and this and that, but it's just, I don't know. I understand.
Don't forget too, Holtz has the least amount of experience versus Palat with the most. So you got to factor in his effect on the rest of the team, the rest of the players. And Holtz might be helping other guys.
Yeah, Holtz is brand new. Palat is a leader, and he is a guy that everybody on that team looks up to. He's the only one skating around with 2 rings. I just think that Palat deserves that second spot now, and he's been playing well. He's always in the mix. I'm sorry, Holtz ain't dropping the gloves when fucking Nico gets his head taken off. Dude, I'm just saying there are a lot of little things. I totally get what you're saying, but I think it's not all about the point.
I know it's not all about points.
On the fourth line as much. So I get you can
numbers aren't linear, so this probably isn't going to happen. But now we're 16 games in. You do the math. He's got 4 assists in 16 games.
But also
I
what
understand
else is he
intangibles, but I understand. Like I said, I do understand intangibles. But on a second line on this team with 4 assists, and again, we don't know if this is going to happen. Palat could start lighting it up at any moment. He definitely could. Yeah, he probably will. I said that earlier. I think he's going to have a hell of a bounce back year. I expect to go north of 20.
I know last year he did not live up to his full potential. I don't think anybody said, "Oh, that's Palat's best possible outing with the Devils."
Yeah, but he was out promising for half of the season. He had to get the surgery and everything.
Absolutely, he actually started off great.
Yeah,
got injured quick. That took a long time to come back. When he came back, I feel like he reached 75, 85% of what you thought his ceiling might be. It was still a really good contribution to the team. I just don't feel like it was, everything you dreamed that the skill set he had could.
For
provide.
me, I saw him in the playoffs. And even though he didn't get too many points in the playoffs, obviously that one goal was absolutely tremendous. But his playoff presence was felt immediately.
100%. His value was in the playoffs.
Yes.
So that's what I mean by him. Like, I don't think necessarily we're going to get like a full bore crazy amount of stats during the regular season with him, and I don't think it really matters. I think as long as he has a good effect on the team and he's not really holding us back from winning games, you are putting him in a position so that he knows where he is come playoff time, and that's when he's going to turn it on more. And it's a little weird to think of it like that. And I'm not saying he's going to cruise through this regular season, but he's older, he's going to conserve. He's more playoffs focused. He reminds me of like a Claude Lemieux almost.
Yes, and I think there's just so much more of what Palat brings to this team than just the production on the ice. And I say that like when we're talking a few minutes ago about the culture of this team and what is going to be the culture of this team. Well, culture is not just, it's also how you play. When your captain gets hit, you stick up for him. Remember when Palat came back after his injury and he got like his fucking whole mouth knocked out of his teeth, like every tooth in his mouth knocked out, and the dude went into the back, got fucking stitched up, came back and scored the game-winning goal. That's right. How you build.
And culture. How about this latest Heischer hit? Who was going right at him?
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that I think just helps build the culture of what this team wants to be.
And I think he could still do that from the third role. So let me ask you this. Heischer's going to be back, and we know what Heischer can bring. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, let's say Mercer resembles at least most of what Mercer was last year. Everyone on this Uncle Puckers wanted Mercer up on the first two lines, which automatically puts Palat back in the third. You're okay with that if Mercer's productive?
Well, look,
I get your point, Bob. You're right.
Between Mercer and Holtz, I'm fine with either. Forget Holtz. I mean, Mercer and Palat. I'm fine if Palat is on the third line and Mercer's on the second, or vice versa. But I do not think that Holtz should be up there, is where this original conversation came
I'm just saying, all things being equal now, if Mercer was playing up to Mercer's capabilities, who's the better
second
third
line
liner?
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that.
Mercer
so my whole
line.
overarching point
is
just
like Palat needs to be on the second line.
Yeah, Palat just feels like the perfect third liner to me, and that's not a dig on him. I value third lines in hockey so much. I think they're so underappreciated for what they do, which is why I want him there. I get that.
I totally get that. I do think Holtz is, over the course of his new career, he may change where he fits best, and I think it's good time to try him at fourth line, because he hasn't offered everything he can with the type of goals you get from a fourth line, and he just showed that, hey, wait, he does this, and it might work out pretty good. There may be other times in his career where his best contribution is going to be what he can also still do now, which is be a second line or third line. It's just a matter of what's best for this team right now.
I think they're doing the right thing with Holtz. I really do. I think the fourth line, McLeod, Bastian, good energy. They get in front of the net, and Holtz is still getting his power play time. So he's still getting
good training too.
He's still getting that power play time to be able to go show off his offense and everything like that. So I think they're doing a good job with how they're developing him and getting him and not expecting too much from him, and let him get it at his own pace. I think every time before he came up, he was kind of thrust into positions that he wasn't comfortable in. And I think this is working out for him. I think he's had a couple of good games in a row.
Now, I think in a year or two.
This is a different feel.
This is the Devil's second line center, bar none. Like, this easy choice. Jack number one.
It's very possible.
He's number two.
Yeah,
we're not there yet.
I just feel like every time he got called up in one of these lower roles and not really given that chance, a solid week even of the higher roles. I mean, all camp, and then they break camp, and it's like, oh, by the way, you're just going to go down to the third now. That's all I'm saying. Like,
I get you.
Last year, the year before, he came in as a fourth liner. We got to try something new sometimes.
And maybe a lot of that house has to do with just the Heischer injury right now. So when he comes back, who knows how things are going to mellow out. But I get your point. I mean, it definitely are, I completely see where you're coming from. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But right now, I think that the way that he has the line set up, I like him. I really wouldn't change.
I do,
too much
and we're
without,
winning.
Well, yeah, without Heischer,
We're
right
winning.
now. We're winning. Right?
Things are working. I get it. Yeah, totally.
I like too, like where this sets up what kind of great center Holtz can be. Something a little bit more like we're getting out of Heischer than Hughes probably fits his team best. If Holtz did all his, every fancy play he could and tried to be another Jack Hughes, it probably wouldn't work out.
He's
well
a winger, actually. He's not a
I get
natural
it.
center. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like it's good that he's coming in this mold, I think, compared to, maybe Hughes.
Yeah.
It's a better fit for his.
Totally always felt that people need to kind of work their way in. The younger guy, you're going to get those lesser roles and build yourself up and kind of learn on the job. I just feel like we've done this dance with him for a few years. And a lot of people feel like it's kind of like, show us now, or maybe you're better off in another team that might give him a really good chance and he's going to blow up. I just afraid that this will be the one guy that we do let go that does fucking blow it up somewhere else, because he's not really given a chance to show what he can do.
I think that I can see that happening, but I also see a guy who they could have walked away from a couple of times, and they chose to stick with him. So I do think they believe in him.
That's an excellent point too. Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, you keep on saying, the guy has to have every opportunity to succeed, and maybe we're not giving him every opportunity to succeed.
It's probably slow coming because this team is stacked, dude.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Right. Like, he's not getting the same minutes coming in the way Heischer did, because Heischer wasn't on the team then.
Right.
And that's the problem, is that it's not the same team to break into that it was 5 years ago. It's really hard to break into this team.
Like, if Holtz gets a solid 10, 11 minutes a night playing on that fourth line and getting second unit power play duty and chipping in there, like, he'll get his points, and I think he'll be very happy and comfortable there. If he establishes, all I have to say about Alex Holtz is whatever role Lindy Ruff and Fitzgerald feel that he needs to be in, he needs to just play that role the best he can. And I thought he did that on the fourth line. He did do
that. Yeah, he's showing, all right, I will do it. Yep.
And I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I
think he's going to do well no matter where we put him.
Yeah, I mean, I like what he's doing, but we're going to wrap it up now. It's getting a little bit late. So to our listeners, thank you so much for staying up with us. Well, not staying up with us. It's not live. You can fucking listen to us whenever the hell you want.
Right.
So
you go to
thanks
sleep,
for hanging out for an hour and a half.
Once in a while.
It was a lot of fun. So give us a positive review, a like, a download, negative review, whatever you want. We are the Uncle Puckers. Bobby, Dan, I'm Chris. We will be back on Saturday evening in full force. And finally, we can get back to the Devil You Know, which will be the first Devil You Know of season 2 of the Uncle Puckers. So,
nice.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So we'll see you when we see you.
Puckers out.
It's over, Johnny. It's over.
All right.
Now, that